Hey there, it's Perry with PapercraftingThreads. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'll show you how to do the Faux Linen Technique and get a bonus card using the Fall for Toile October 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit. Let's get started.
I have one of the card bases from the kit. I'm going to cut off part of it, make it 4 inches. Save this for another card. By 5 1/4. I have a piece of pool party cardstock that measures 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored down the middle at 4 1/4. I have another piece of pool party cardstock that measures 3 1/2 inches by 4 3/4 inches. And I'm adding a piece of adhesive sheet to one side of this pool party. I'm using my bone folder to make sure that's adhered. And I cut off a piece of the tissue paper that's wrapped around the contents of the kit. I'm just going to wad this up. And then unfurl it. And one side is kind of matte and the other side is kind of shiny. I want the shiny side, which is this one, to go against the adhesive. So I'm laying that flat, or I'm laying that down, not really flat, because I want as much crinkling as possible. And I'm removing the backing on that adhesive sheet. And then laying this down. And pressing to adhere that. And now it looks like that. And then trim off excess tissue paper. This does not have to be neatly done because I'm still going to trim this panel down a little bit more. And then I have one of the frames from the kit. And I want it to go behind this. So I can see I'm going to need to trim off a little bit. I'm using just a scissors and just trimming along the edge. And then I'll trim just a little bit more here because I don't want it so small that I can't glue it together. Just trim off a little bit more up here. So that none of that peeks out. And then I'm taking liquid glue and running a bead around the edge here, staying as close to the edge as I can and not using lots of glue. Just a thin bead. And then adhere this over the top. This will eventually go on top of here, but rather than just cover up all of this great patterned paper here, I'm using the third largest die, and I'm going to place it right here and die cut that out, and I'll be right back. Save this for our second card. Fold the card base in half. Burnish on the score line. Then we'll adhere this down. Then I'll add adhesive to the back of this and adhere. Spread that glue flat. And then I'm using some dimensionals. I'm peeling off all of the liners and putting it behind the branch. And I'm doing that in about 3 spots. And so there my branches are elevated. For the word thankful, adding a dimensional on the back on that side and a glue dot on this side, removing the liners. And adding that here. Since the branch is elevated, I don't need that side to be raised up. And then I'm using this little leaf die from the Circle of Seasons add-on dies, cutting one from Pecan Pie. So I have the one from Pecan Pie. I also cut one from Early Espresso and one from Timid Tiger. And on the back sides, using glue dots from the kit. Remove the backings. And then placing that on here. And then for the inside of the card, I'm using one of the envelopes. Save this for the next card. And cutting this envelope up to 4 by, just cutting that side off, 4 by 5 1/4. Save this for another card. And then using the little leaf from the stamp set, inking that up. And this will be the card liner. On second thought, I'm going to move this little leaf farther down and have it going more out of the frame. Like that. And there you have it, my first alternative from the Fall for Toile kit. For card number 2, I'm using this card base and cutting this down to 4 inches. by 5 1/4. Save all of these pieces for future cards. And then this piece that we cut off of the envelope for the previous card and this textured notes die to place this on here. And I want to get the stag and this little fawn over here and die cut this out. I have one of the circles from the kit and the wishing you the happiest of days stamp. I'm going to ink that. This is a very juicy ink spot. I want this up high and to the side. I have a standard card base measuring 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 out of basic white. Fold that in half. Burnish that score line. Adhere this on here. Press that glue down. And then that piece that I cut out of the middle of that first card, will be going here. And this one over here. And I'm positioning it so the deer are all seen. And I want a length of this ribbon that came with the kit. Adding some tear and tape to the back from one of the other kits. Removing that liner. And making sure I can see my deer. Flipping this over and adding dimensionals to the back. I'm just cutting off some of these edges. Removing the liners. And adhering that here. And then I have my fox. And I'm going to use glue dots to adhere him. I want him hanging off the edge. So I need one here at the top of the tail, on his back, and behind his head. And then I have some streak dots from the Occasions catalog.
And there you have it, my second alternative. And here are both cards.
My first two alternatives with this kit.
Find written instructions over on my blog at. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching. Bye.